Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's life? Like the decisions you make aren't truly your own, but instead guided by what others expect of you. Maybe it's the career you chose because it seemed respectable, or the way you present yourself to fit in. It's a feeling that many of us know all too well, the quiet discomfort of living a life that doesn't feel authentic. In today's world, the pressure to meet societal expectations is everywhere. From the moment we're young, we're taught to follow a certain path, to fit into predefined roles. Whether it's achieving success, maintaining appearances, or living up to family expectations, we often find ourselves chasing goals that don't reflect who we truly are. Over time, we lose sight of our own values and desires, and our lives begin to feel more like performances than genuine expressions of who we are. Jean-Paul Sartre, one of the leading figures in existential philosophy, called this phenomenon bad faith. He described it as a form of self-deception, where we deny our own freedom and conform to roles imposed by society. According to Sartre, living in bad faith means surrendering our ability to define ourselves, allowing others to dictate our identity. But here's the good news: Sartre believed we can reclaim our authenticity by embracing our freedom and taking responsibility for our choices. In this video, we'll explore why we let others define us, how bad faith traps us in inauthenticity, and, most importantly, how we can break free to live a life that feels genuine and true. Jean-Paul Sartre described bad faith as one of the most common yet subtle ways we betray ourselves. It's a form of self-deception, where we deny our freedom and conform to roles and expectations that society places upon us. In essence, bad faith is living inauthentically, choosing comfort and acceptance over the often difficult task of embracing our true selves. To understand bad faith, imagine a person who stays in a career they hate because it's seen as prestigious. They convince themselves that the job defines their worth and that leaving it would make them a failure in the eyes of others. In reality, they might dream of pursuing a creative passion or a simpler life, but the fear of judgment keeps them stuck. Sartre would argue that this person is deceiving themselves, pretending that they have no choice, when in fact, they do. Another example might be someone in a relationship that no longer brings them joy or connection. They stay not out of love, but because they fear being alone or worry about how others might perceive them if they walk away. Again, this is bad faith, denying the truth of their feelings and sacrificing authenticity for societal approval. But why do we fall into bad faith so easily? Sartre believed it stems from fear. The freedom to define our own lives is both liberating and terrifying. It means taking full responsibility for our choices, without blaming circumstances or others. For many, this level of responsibility feels overwhelming, so we cling to roles, routines, or societal norms as a form of escape. Fear of rejection, failure, or being judged pushes us to prioritize external validation over inner truth. Take, for example, a student who dreams of becoming an artist but chooses a practical career because their family believes art isn't a real job. They tell themselves, "I have no choice, this is what I have to do." But Sartre would argue that this isn't true. The student does have a choice, they're simply afraid to face the consequences of pursuing their own path. By choosing bad faith, they trade their freedom for the illusion of security. In bad faith, we act as if we are bound by external forces, pretending that we have no agency over our lives. We hide behind excuses like, "I can't," or "I have to," when the truth is, we are making a choice, whether consciously or not. Sartre's philosophy challenges us to confront this self-deception. He believed that authenticity begins with acknowledging our freedom, no matter how daunting it feels. Instead of blaming society or circumstances, we must ask ourselves, what do I truly want? Who am I beyond the roles I play? Bad faith might feel comfortable in the short term, but it comes at a cost. It disconnects us from our true selves, leaving us with a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. By confronting our fears and embracing the freedom to choose, we can break free from these self-imposed limitations and begin living authentically. When we let others define us, we lose something profound, our authenticity. Living inauthentically means there's a constant disconnect between who we truly are and the version of ourselves we present to the world. It's like wearing a mask, pretending to be someone else, while deep down, we know we're not being honest with ourselves. This disconnect takes a toll. Over time, it can leave us feeling empty, dissatisfied, or even purposeless. When your life is guided by others' expectations, every decision feels hollow. You might achieve goals or gain recognition, but instead of feeling fulfilled, you're left wondering, why doesn't this make me happy? That emptiness is a signal. It's the cost of living in a way that doesn't align with your true self. Take, for instance, someone who spends years pursuing a career they don't love because it's what their family or society expects. From the outside, they may seem successful, but inside, they feel a nagging sense of disconnection. Or consider a person who changes their personality or interests to fit into a social group. They might gain acceptance, but it comes at the cost of suppressing their individuality. These sacrifices chip away at our sense of self, leaving us feeling like strangers in our own lives. In modern times, social media amplifies this struggle. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok encourage people to curate their lives for validation, posting highlight reels, crafting the perfect image, and chasing likes and followers. It's no longer enough to live your life. Now, it must be performative. Every vacation, achievement, or even meal becomes content for public consumption. But this curated reality is often far from the truth. Behind the polished photos and viral posts, people face the same struggles and insecurities as everyone else. The pressure to maintain a perfect online persona adds another layer of disconnection, as many feel they must constantly perform, even in their private lives. The emotional impact of this cycle is profound. When your identity is built on external validation, you become dependent on it. A lack of likes or engagement can feel like a rejection, making you question your worth. The more we seek approval from others, the more we lose touch with our own values and desires. Over time, this constant pursuit of validation creates a void, a sense that no matter what we do, it's never enough. Jean-Paul Sartre's philosophy of bad faith directly addresses this struggle. By conforming to others' expectations, we deny our freedom and avoid the responsibility of defining ourselves. The more we let others dictate our identity, the further we drift from authenticity. The result? A life that feels unfulfilled, no matter how successful or admired it may appear on the surface. To reclaim our authenticity, we must confront the ways we let others define us. It's not easy. Stepping away from societal expectations or social media validation can feel isolating at first. But the reward is worth it, a life that feels honest and aligned with who we truly are. By letting go of the masks we wear and embracing our true selves, we can find a sense of purpose and fulfillment that no amount of external validation can provide. Reclaiming authenticity begins with a powerful realization: you are free. Jean-Paul Sartre believed that as humans, we are condemned to be free. This means we are always responsible for our choices, whether we acknowledge it or not. While this freedom can feel overwhelming, it's also the key to living authentically. The question is, will you embrace it, or will you hide from it? Living authentically requires stepping away from societal expectations and reclaiming control over your decisions. It means asking yourself difficult questions. Am I living the life I want, or the life others expect of me? Are my values truly mine, or have they been shaped by society? Sartre argued that true freedom comes from taking responsibility for our actions and rejecting the roles imposed on us by others. To live authentically, the first step is to question societal expectations. Look at the standards you've internalized about success, relationships, or even happiness, and ask, do these truly align with who I am? For instance, if you've been pursuing a career because it's considered prestigious, but it leaves you unfulfilled, it may be time to reevaluate. The next step is to define your own values and goals. Take time to reflect on what genuinely matters to you. What brings you joy, purpose, or a sense of fulfillment? Write it down, if needed, and let these values guide your decisions. Authenticity doesn't mean rejecting society entirely. It means aligning your life with your inner truth, not external pressures. Finally, living authentically means making choices that reflect your true self. This requires courage. It might mean stepping away from a role that feels comfortable but inauthentic, or pursuing a dream others might not understand. The path won't always be easy, but it will feel true. And that truth is worth the effort. Breaking free from bad faith isn't simple. Sartre recognized the challenges of embracing freedom in a world that constantly pushes conformity. Living authentically means taking risks, risking rejection, failure, or judgment to live a life that feels honest and aligned with who you are. But in doing so, you free yourself from the weight of pretending, from the exhausting act of wearing a mask. It takes courage to walk away from societal expectations, especially when the world seems to reward conformity. But the reward for authenticity is profound, a life that feels meaningful because it is yours. Sartre's philosophy reminds us that we are the authors of our own lives. If you feel disconnected or unfulfilled, it's not because you lack control, it's because you haven't claimed it yet. Authenticity is about owning your freedom and shaping a life that reflects your values, your goals, and your truth. It's not an easy path, but it's the only path that leads to a life that feels real. So ask yourself, what does authenticity mean to me? The answer might just set you free. Letting others define us may feel comfortable, but it comes at a significant cost. It leads to bad faith, a state where we deny our freedom and live inauthentically, conforming to roles and expectations that don't align with who we truly are. Over time, this disconnect leaves us feeling empty, dissatisfied, and unfulfilled. But as Jean-Paul Sartre teaches us, true freedom lies in reclaiming our choices. It's about stepping away from societal pressures, questioning the roles we've adopted, and embracing the responsibility to define our own lives. Living authentically may not always be easy, but it's the only path to a life that feels meaningful and true. So, here's the question: are you living authentically, or are you letting others define you? Take a moment to reflect. Are your goals and values truly yours, or have they been shaped by the expectations of others? What changes can you make to reclaim your freedom and align your life with who you really are? The journey toward authenticity is ongoing, and it requires courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. But the reward is profound, a life that feels honest and fulfilling, because it is truly yours. Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's inspire each other to embrace freedom, authenticity, and the responsibility to live our lives on our terms. After all, the most meaningful journey we can take is the one that leads us back to ourselves.